And early on, having been an early stage company person, your culture, your company culture, if you're a solo founder, your company culture is your head, right? Whatever in your head, that's your company culture. Whatever you think, that's your company culture. If you're a co-founder, guess what? Your company culture is the intersection of what you believe and what your co-founder believes. And guess what? It's almost, you're not the exact same person. So it's going to be a smaller group. Every person you hire, that overlap gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I used to explain it this way. If I like the office cold and you like the office hot, okay, well we're going to find like lukewarm or something is what we're going to set the thermostat to until we hire the third person and they like the office like really cold, so now it'll start to get colder. And if you like the office hot, you're going to be less happy. And maybe what we should do is actually talk about this early on before we hire 50 people or 100 people or even 5 people and say, what do we think, like if this is important to us, what temperature should the office be? And then from then on, when we interview somebody, we say, what temperature do you like the office? And if they say, and we've decided we like the office really cold, and they say, I really like the office hot, then you go, you know what, this may not be the right company for you. And so that's the easiest one. But I mean, the thing that really taught me this kind of stuff was Netflix, like the Netflix culture deck. Like, hopefully, we've all read the Netflix culture deck, even though it's pretty old at this point. If you haven't, you should. And I say that not because I think Netflix is so awesome. In fact, when the Netflix culture deck came out, I read it, and what it made me think is, I never want to work at Netflix. But it was cool. I really appreciated it. One, they were incredibly transparent about who they were and what was important to them. And two, they shared it, so I could make that decision without like going to interview at Netflix, maybe getting the job, showing up, and realizing, oh, this was a huge mistake. Right? That was incredibly smart of them. They thought through their people systems. So it's worth reading just to think about, just to see how a company defines its people systems and just how thoroughly they did that. And it set them up for a lot of their success. The fourth system is resilience. What happens when things go wrong? Right? Because it's gonna. It's gonna. Every startup in the room is going to tell you, can give you examples of when things go wrong. And you don't need full like system run books or 100-page like plans, but you need to make some decisions about what should never break, right? If I'm a FinTech company, what should we never screw up? People's money. And we're going to do whatever we need to do to not screw up people's money. As a CTO of an ID verification company, we had literally millions and millions and millions of passport photos and driver's license photos in our systems. The number one thing that we would never break is we would never leak those. Actually, an IDV company just did that. And that company is going to be gone. Because who's going to work with a company that leaks your most sensitive PII? But so that was the line I drew with that company. We will never leak this data. And I'm okay to ship slower so that we don't leak this data. And I'm okay if we're down because we chose to put security over this. But that's the decision that we made. And that was the system that we built. What should never break? What can break but should recover quickly? And then what's the general plan if things go wrong? And that could be like we missed our quarterly numbers. Sales missed quarterly numbers this quarter. That shouldn't be a, oh my God, what do we do? That should be a, yeah, that happens. What's the plan? So you don't have to do every plan for every eventuality because you're never going to do it. It's just not realistic. But you should figure out what the most important things that need to be resilient are and then figure out what you want to do when they're not. So another important piece is having the right system at the right time. So I talked about at Bootleg how we were bringing big company systems to a tiny little startup, and it was totally wrong. Even if you're designing systems, it gets really tempting to do this. There was a company I worked for where I'd just come from, Avo. We had a 10-year-old stack, and we were dealing with tons and tons of tech debt. I went to an early stage company, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be really smart this time, because we're going to architect things from the beginning. We're going to build microservices, and we're going to have all these deployment tools and all this kind of stuff so that we never hit that problem, which what happened instead, we massively over-engineered for a tiny little startup, and it slowed us way down. Even coming from one startup going to another startup at a different stage, I made the same mistake. I don't make that mistake anymore. Your systems have to match your stage. So don't build for 500 employees when you have 5. Build for 15, revisit at 25, and rewrite at 50, right?